Please try. So, okay, so we'll begin. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us in this 38th session of Feminist Friday. Almost a year now we will be completing. Before we begin today's reading, I'll just walk you through how the structure of today's conversation look like and what is the objective behind holding this space. So, me, Vishari, my colleague, and Namrata, she'll be joining us shortly. So we are research scholars from Center for Women's Studies, and we started this reading club in a way to understand how gender plays life in our academic is one part, but then how do we apply the academic part into our own lives. So this is one attempt to make concepts of gender, discussion around gender, and make it open to everybody who is coming from different streams. उसके बाद हमारा दूसरा मकसद ये भी था कि हम एक लैंग्वेज बैरियर, एकेडमिक बैरियर को तोड़ के we can reach out to people who not necessarily probably speak the same language or are not from the same academic training or academic background. So with this, today's reading is So today's reading. So this is the two major objectives with which we started. One is to move beyond language barriers. Second, to reach out to masses who will not necessarily come from gender training. और इसीलिए हर बार हर फ्राइडे को हम लोग ये रीडिंग होल्ड करते हैं एंड पीपल हु एनीबडी कैन वॉलंटियर फॉर द रीडिंग. अगर आपने कोई भी फेमिनिस्ट टेक्स्ट पढ़ा हो तो इट्स ऑलवेज अ साइकिल वेयर एनीबडी कैन वॉलंटियर नेक्स्ट फ्राइडे फिर दे कैन प्रेजेंट. सो इन दैट सीरीज टुडे दिस रीडिंग वाज सजेस्टेड बाय वैभव एंड इन दिस reading, which is Stri-Purush Tulana, or the English translation is a comparison between women and men. ये पूरी थीम जो हम पिछले कुछ महीनों से चला रहे हैं, जिसमें कि हम जेंडर और कास्ट को समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, नॉट इन आइसोलेशन बट एज अ इंटरसेक्शन, एज अ मिक्सिंग ऑफ द टू आइडेंटिटीज. और इसी के सीरीज में वी हैव रेड लॉट ऑफ बुद्धिस्ट टेक्स्ट. वी हैव रेड अबाउट कार्ल मार्क्स और बुद्धा, और वी हैव ऑल्सो रेड Uma Chakravarti's work also. But in that same series, अभी हम आज की जो reading है, we'll try to, for the first half an hour or so, we'll go through the text. Some of the, not the complete text, as in पूरा का पूरा पढ़ना possible नहीं भी हो पाएगा. तो we'll look at the key readings, key paragraphs, वो किस तरह से उन्होंने, she's arguing, and then open up the space for more discussions. तो before I give it to Vaibhav for the continuing the discussion, एक दो छोटी announcements हैं. अगर किसी भी point पे आपको लगता है, because we are recording this session for our own documentation, तो किसी भी point पे आपको लगता है कि you want to pause the recording and then participate, we are open to that also. Just let us know. दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि we'll respect the speaker, respect everybody's identity. We'll try to make it as inclusive because people from different religious, sexual minorities are also part of this group. So we'll try to make this space a safe space for everyone. ये जो reading है, I'll just begin with some part of very brief short introduction and then we'll move ahead into the later part. तो इस reading की सबसे बड़ी खास बात जो जितना भी मैंने पढ़ा जाना वो ये था कि this is one of the first text which comes to us from history written by a woman, and she is able to her language, the way she, because it was originally written in Marathi, so what we're reading right now is translation, and we know what is the politics of translation, and there are high chances that the way we read is different from what it was written. But with that limited understanding, उनका जो कहने का तरीका है, which is very sarcastic, which is also very challenging, और बहुत ही writing style is very simple because it is addressed to masses. She's somebody who can relate as for the masses, by the masses, that kind of a literature. Academically आपको लगेगा कि इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा concepts नहीं है, but then the more we read into it, we find how nuances she has picked up, like challenging in terms of the whole reforms agenda, जिसको बोलते हैं ना कि हिस्ट्री में अगर हम if we go back and see कि वुमेन की सिचुएशन, वुमेन की पोजीशन को लेकर काफ़ी सारी रिफॉर्मिस्ट मूवमेंट चली है। आर्य समाज की अपनी है, ब्रह्म समाज की अपनी है, एवरीबडी टॉक्स ऑफ सती, चाइल्ड मैरिज, बट देन लेट्स सी हाउ शी अनपैक्स, और वो कैसे पूरे के पूरे रिफॉर्म एजेंडा को चैलेंज करती हैं। एंड थोड़ा सा ब्रीफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट, एंड यू कैन ऐड इफ आई एम रॉन्ग, दैट शी इज़ राइटिंग इन अर्ली 19th सेंचुरी, एंड ऑल्सो वो जब लिख रही हैं तो शी इज ऑल्सो कॉन्शियस ऑफ द चेंज टेकिंग प्लेस अराउंड। ऐसे नहीं कि वो जेंडर के बारे में सोच के लिख रही है, ऐसा लगेगा कि आपको टाइटल मेन और वुमेन के बारे में, बट देन शी इज वेरी कॉन्शियस अबाउट द हिस्टोरिकल, द कॉलोनियल स्ट्रक्चर्स आर चेंजिंग द रूल। वो काफ़ी जगह वो ये बात भी कहती हैं कि जो ब्रिटिश कॉलोनियलिज्म आया है उससे काफ़ी अच्छा भी हो रहा है, बिकॉज द वे शी कुड रीड कि लोगों के ड्रेसिंग सेंस में चेंज आ रहा है, इकोनॉमिक्स में चेंज आ रहा है, गरीब और अमीर के अंतर को चेंज आ रहा है। So this would be a big point miss if we read this text only just a comparison between men and women, or just in terms of gender. It's very well a political, a cultural and economic text for me. And I have read just starting the introduction part and half of it. But then this particular exercise will move ahead. और ये मराठा region, महाराष्ट्र के region के आसपास, when there is we know some amount of history कि ब्रिटिशर्स आए, उससे पहले जो वहाँ पे किंगडम्स थे उनके बीच में लड़ाई चल रही थी। ब्रिटिश यूज द डिवाइड एंड रूल पॉलिसी। एक तरफ अहमदनगर किंगडम है, निज़ाम्स हैं, मराठास हैं, ठीक है। मराठास में भी दे आर डिफरेंट उनकी फैमिलीज हैं, भोसले हो गए, ठीक है, इस शिंदे हो गए। तो इस तरह के दीज आर एक तरह से फ्यूडल लॉर्ड्स हैं। दे आर ऑल्सो फाइटिंग फॉर देयर ओन आइडेंटिटी एंड सुप्रीमेसी, एंड इन टर्म्स engaging with British colonial जो पूरा का पूरा ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो रहा है वहाँ पे, ठीक है। I would not take more time on this, but then let's just read the part which you want to contribute, and then we can come in the middle.
Yeah, before starting, I just want to share the social ecology around the Tarabai Shinde,
Right.
how she grows. Because if you see the Maharashtra region particularly, the Maratha is dominant caste, and within a Maratha there are many subcastes like the 96 Koli, 92 Koli, then 96 Koli, this kind of, then the Kumbhi Mali, and she belongs to the 92 Koli, 92 Kumbhi Maratha. Basically, is somewhere located in the lower to general and upper to OBC, and the region she's belong, it was Buldhana, where you must also know ki Majzav, the mother of great King Chhatrapati, same districts. So she written this essay, 52 pages essay, in 1882 as to counter a case. There were the case in Surat, Vijaya Lakshmi. She was a Brahmin widowhood, and she was pregnant, and after giving birth to the child, she killed that children. And then some Brahmins and others filed complaint against that widow, the Vijaya Lakshmi. And then Satyashodhak Samaj, that time the Satyashodhak Samaj was predominant in the Maharashtrian Reformation movement, and she was influenced by Mahatma Phule, Fatima Sheikh, and Savitribai Phule, and even the Mukta Salve. She reads the Mukta Salve, that essay, I think it's essay ki how the caste and women situation in India during the Peshwa period, and she was influenced by them, and she write this ki Vijaya Lakshmi is not accused of this what he done. The accused should be a society, because society compel her to do this act, because as she widowed, she doesn't have any right to remarry, then she don't have anyone to support. So because of she was alone, so some Brahmins from that widow family उसका ये किया, फायदा उठाया, and they rape her again and again. That's why she become pregnant, and due to see, and the widow जो pregnant होती है उस सोसाइटी में जहाँ ब्राह्मण हो वहाँ पे बहुत ये बड़ा स्टिग्मा होता है. So she was trying to hide कि ये मेरा बच्चा नहीं. That's why she killed that baby, and again that the Brahmins community filed the complaint against her कि उसने एक बच्चे को मारा है. तो उसे पहले हैंग टू डेथ की सजा मिली थी, बट आफ्टर रीडिंग और आफ्टर publishing this essay, she got only 5 years what jail. So, and she in this essay ki not only talk about the women's and men comparison, but she also raised question on God कि God means in caste system we say कि God has given more rights to men, why not women? She asked question to God कि why you not given happiness as much you have given to man, because she writes experience from birth to death कि how the especially dominant Maratha dominance caste women faced in her home, like from poverty time, you can say puberty time or like a childhood, she not allowed to go anywhere without anyone. Even she want to go outside the home, then she has to go with someone who carry him. Maybe he's a younger to him or elder to, like the which Manusmriti says कि जहाँ the बेटी एक बाप की अधीन होती है, देन भैया ब्रदर की, और देन पति की. This kind of she narrates in that essay. She also talk about the कि how the this government is favor for this government means the British government, because that era in 1827, 28, then 1852, the British government was coming with the new policies like the ban sati pratha, then the education for the women, because in 1881 it said there was a Hunter Commission. So Hunter Commission came for to spread education in Maharashtra for women especially. Then there were the this law which Remarriage Act also in 1852 or 1854. I'm not accurate, but yeah, it was there. So in that narration she wrote these things कि women should get equal right as equal to men. Women should get equal liberty as equal to men. Women should get equal social justice as equal to men. This essay will cover the how she are asking for social justice from this patriarchal society, and she talk about the how in which the patriarchal society or particular Brahmin ki exploit a woman through his childhood to death.
Right.
This all context she has given.
If I add something?
Yeah, sure.
So, like Vaibhav has said, he has rightly said the context in which this was done, and we will go to the one part of the reading also. इसमें ना बार बार एक चीज़ हमें नोटिस जो मैंने ऑब्जर्व किया वो था कि वो बहुत सारे उनके आसपास जो रिलीजियस टेक्स्ट हैं उनको बहुत ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन करते हैं. रिपीटेड रेफरेंस ऑफ रामायण, महाभारत, द्रौपदी, सीता, सुपर्णखा, रावण. So you'll find all these mythological characters and stories around, and then she questions. So the language is very people centric, I would say. It's a very important thing for us as an academician to listen, that if you are able, this is what is called being an organic intellectual, that your voices, your examples are very much embedded in the society which you're coming from. So I'll just take one paragraph and read. This is page number 2 on the introduction part, and then we'll move ahead. So this is third paragraph in which it is written, the translator has written, one important advances here has been our clear break from the old liberal interpretation of the debates over social reforms for women that were so widespread in India during the 19th century. This interpretation shaped by modernization theory. So we understand that when it's considered कि ठीक है modernity आ रही है, modernization आ रहा है, ठीक है, उससे थोड़ा सा हटके हमारी यहाँ पे अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप हो रही है. when it is written, the interpretation shaped by the modernization theory which dominated much of the post-war Western historical writings about India. So Second World War और या फिर post-war के बाद जितना भी modernization को लेके आया है उसके ऊपर इंडियन हिस्ट्री जो लिखी गई है, viewed such concerns for women as little more than a natural response to the real disadvantage that Hindu traditions in particularly imposed upon them. Lata Mani and others have argued that women, as a category under quotes, that women actually appeared in the public discussion more as a symbol of moral health for the tradition itself, as this was debated among male colonial officials and missionaries and their reformers, nationalists and conservatives. So all sections, these colonial officials, missionaries, Indian reformers, nationalists, conservatives, to the exclusion very largely of the views and voices of women themselves. So it is important to understand who speaks for whom. So women as a category was all, it's not like women was not discussed. It's only that women were discussed by these group of men. And we rarely find voices of women and other historians have pushed forward our understanding to the influential new models of middle class female respectability that were emerging from the mid-centuries amid a plethora of new periodicals and pamphlets guided to the domestics as women's peculiar space. This is what we find even in Gandhian writing, where when he talks of the role of women, bringing him into public sphere in terms of national movements, but then also limiting the role of women to motherhood, dividing this private and public into two domains, dichotomies, and then essentializing, putting the cultural burden on women. अब women का रोल क्या है? घर चलाना है अच्छे से, ठीक है, अच्छे संस्कार दे के अपने बच्चों को पैदा करना है, बड़ा करना है, जिससे कि देश का निर्माण हो. तो ये काफी कल्चरली लोडेड लिमिट करना है वुमेन के रोल को, जो यहाँ पे हमें इट्स रिटन देयर द डोमेस्टिक एज वुमेन्स पेक्यूलियर, डोमेस्टिक वाज कंसीडर्ड एज वुमेन्स पेक्यूलियर स्फीयर with their own expertise of enlightened child care. This enlightened child care is important क्योंकि the burden of child care is often is considered for women's work, accounts and family education. As Madrid Worthwick has pointed out, these model clearest in the Bhadra Mahila of late 19th century of Bengal reformist circle seem a peculiar amalgamation of Brahminical and middle class विक्टोरियन सोशल वैल्यूज. तो ये जो रिफॉर्म के नाम पे भी और रिफॉर्म्स के बाद भी एक जो आइडियल वुमेन का मॉडल जो बन रहा है, जो कंस्ट्रक्ट हो रहा है, विच इज अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ ब्राह्मणिकल पवित्रता, ब्राह्मणिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ व्हाट भद्र महिला शुड लुक लाइक एंड विक्टोरियन मोरालिटी, which is I think which is rooted on the dichotomy of personal and professional, private and public sphere, with their emphasis on wives that were at once selfless angels. So this is what women is considered as selfless angels of heart and cultivated helpmeets to their husband. So there is always कि husband की सारी requirements को always you have to meet. And इस पूरे text में when she starts writing, she'll keep questioning कि ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है कि husband मारे भी, ठीक है, भूखा भी रखे, फिर उसके बाद वो जब मेरे को मारे, फिर उसके चोट लगे मेरे को मारने से, तो मेरे को जाके उसके हाथों की मालिश करनी है. How can any शास्त्र or any literature talk of this कि मैं violence भी खाऊं और फिर मैं उसके पैरों को दबाऊंगी? So she's raising very fundamental questions. In this traditional, this is the next paragraph, somewhere in the middle. In this traditionalization of colonial society, so she is very much aware कि colonialism आ रहा है, colonial society बन रही है, जो upper middle class है, फिर जो ब्राह्मण्स हैं, उनके कपड़े पहनने के तरीके change हो रहे हैं. They are trying to imitate being babu. And in this modernization, gender relationship emerged as a powerful new means of consolidation of social hierarchies. So gender is reinforced through social hierarchies and expression of caste exclusivity. तो caste और ज़्यादा strong हो रही है, caste exclusivity और ज़्यादा rigid हो रही है. Gender may also have been a key element in the construction of colonial hegemony itself. तो colonial hegemony को maintain करने के लिए भी gender is a key element itself. Shared idioms of femininity, providing key groups of Indian and British men alike with a common language in which they were able to discuss and agree upon the important aspects of Indian social order. So जो Indian social order है, जो कि Britishers ने so-called male upper caste Brahmins से लिया है, जो knowledge transfer हुई है, they have a very simple understanding of what femininity and masculinity should mean. तो Britishers भी वहीं से draw कर रहे हैं, and British men are drawing on that. Others have identified area of cooperation and agreement in the widespread assumption that politics and administration considered a particular public and masculine domain. So politics becomes masculine, administration becomes masculine, as opposed to the domestic as a sacrosanct private realm of family and religion. We see that family is private, but religion also, which is attached to spirituality and then becomes very personal sphere. A view that appealed not only to Victorian colonial officials but to important classes of Indian men anxious to find means of preserving their areas of own power against colonial intervention. Now, this in turn raises a much debated issue of gender within Indian nationalist politics. Now, this is where how Indian national movement, जो हम 1857 या उससे पहले से भी ड्रॉ करें और 1947 तक एक फेज रहा है, मॉडरेट्स और एक्सट्रीमिस्ट के फॉर्म में हम उसको पढ़ते हैं, लेकिन इस पूरे के पूरे नेशनल मूवमेंट में दिस जेंडर क्वेश्चन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. And this is where it's important to understand that in particular Partha Chatterjee have also talked about that others have noted the question of women's emancipation seems to disappear. जो वुमेन क्वेश्चन था, जो वुमेन क्वेश्चन शुरू से चला आ रहा था उनके एजुकेशन को लेके, चाइल्ड मैरिज और सती प्रथा, जो कि रिफॉर्मिस्टिक एजेंडा चला रहे थे, वो भी इट सीम्स टू हैव डिसअपियर फ्रॉम मोस्ट नेशनलिस्ट पॉलिटिकल एजेंडा फ्रॉम द लास्ट डिकेड ऑफ 19th century, एंड इट इन बाय नो मीन्स क्लियर वाई. तो सडनली इंडिपेंडेंट आते ही 1947 के बाद इट सीम्स इट वाज अज्यूम्ड कि अभी जो वुमेन प्रॉब्लम है, जो जेंडर का जो सवाल है, वो तो रिजॉल्व हो गया है. नाउ वी हैव ऑलरेडी गिवन राइट्स, इट्स गिवन इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. सो दिस इज वेयर इट्स कंसिडर्ड कि नेशनलिस्ट डिबेट में वुमेन क्वेश्चन रिमेन्स secluded, remains sidelined. But then we see later जब इक्वालिटी टुवर्ड्स इक्वालिटी रिपोर्ट आएगी 1974 में, उसका जो फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट आएंगी, they'll revive the much debate around the gender question again into the Indian politics. So this was just one paragraph putting in context of the change happening when this was written. You want to continue the reading or you want to? Yeah. Start. अच्छा ठीक है.
बस बीच में
First half is the introduction part, but let's come to the actual text. We'll read the main text. Yeah.
I think there's certain things we need to be conscious about, like apart from the point that they already mentioned, is that we cannot judge the text putting it in the present understanding of feminism. So there are certain things you can say as a current day feminism, we can question कि ऐसे कैसे बोल रहे हैं. We should be aware that we do not fall into that thing, because we have to understand her background and where she is coming from. It's not like she's an academically trained researcher. She's, like he mentioned, she is writing in very simple terms and addressing to the masses, and she is writing from her own context. But why this text is considered from one of the earliest feminist texts in the Indian context is because she is raising very fundamental, important questions. She is questioning the gender relations that she is seeing all around her, and just in very simple terms questioning कि how problematic it looks on your face, that ऐसे कैसे हो रहा है कि आदमी ये ऐसा कर रहा है तब it's fine, but when the woman is doing it and all the blame is on the woman, it's just very basic but also very important, because these questions, मतलब you have to think from that उस ज़माने पे even this basic questions were not raised. अभी हमको देख के at this point of time, because we have traveled through history, हमको लग रहा है कि these are such basic questions, but no, that's where the important thing we have to understand. And also we have to read it from the given historical context. Like at certain point she is like praising, thanking that thank God British powers have come. Now इसके उन लोगों की वजह से women have received certain kind of education and they have the power to get out of their miserable conditions. So these arguments will keep coming up, but most of it is actually quite generic, but I will still try to bring up certain points that I find are interesting, and then also the key arguments that come up. So कुछ examples देते हैं कि जहाँ पे she's just saying that throughout the text actually she's saying she's angry. When you read the text, it's like she's going over this rant that what is happening, this is so unfair, this is so unjust, which like should be visible, but where it was not. She's pointing those things out very directly, very much on your face. कि वही जैसे कि she's starting with स्त्री धर्म क्या है, it just means obeying orders from your husband and doing everything he wants, and he can kick you and beat you up, but you have to still massage his feet and smile and say कि नहीं ये तो मेरा काम है, ये तो मेरा फर्ज है. Like now that we sit here and read, it looks almost ridiculous and seems ridiculous, but that's where it comes from. That's where these are the core क्या कहते हैं, core beliefs on which the entire society is built. And although she's also pointing to something important, like we say that like our society, the way our society functions, it is coming from scriptures, but she's also telling something important, that ऐसा भी नहीं है कि हर एक scripture का point देख देख के लोग follow करते हैं. Like in order to bring out कि how ridiculous scriptures are, just because लिखा है ऐसा कि ऐसा करना चाहिए, पत्नी को ऐसा होना चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं कि लोग बैठ के हमेशा follow करते हैं, it's not possible, it's ridiculous. She is saying the same thing that it is
जैसे बोला था
ridiculous.
ना कि संन्यास एक होता है ना, ब्रह्मचार्य जीवन होता है, फिर उसका लास्ट में संन्यास होता है कि आपको 50 से 60 के बाद संन्यास में जाना होता है. देन शी इज क्वेश्चन कि कौन जा रहा है संन्यास में,
हाँ.
वो मरने तक दे आर स्टिल आएंगे कि उनको यंग लड़की से उनकी शादी हो जाए, ठीक है. सो ऐसा तो है नहीं कि वो लिटरली टेक्स्ट को फॉलो कर रहे हैं. एंड देन शी गिव्स वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल, जैसे कि विडो रीमैरिज है. अब आदमी की अगर औरत मर जाती है, सो इज देयर अ विडो, तो उसके साथ तो कोई ऐसा नहीं करता कि उसके बाल काट दें या फिर उसका कुमकुम मिटा दें, ठीक है. ऐसा पब्लिकली ह्यूमिलिएट तो कोई नहीं करता है. वो तो अगले 10वें दिन जाके दूसरी अपनी वाइफ लेके आ जाता है, ठीक है. दिस इज वेरी अनफेयर.
She's just pointing to the hypocrisy of it all.
हिपोक्रेसी ऑफ
Exactly. Throughout the text, that's what she does.
लड़की अगर शादी करती है तो उसको मंगलसूत्र पहनना पड़ता है, ठीक है. इस तरह का आदमी को तो कुछ नहीं पहनना पड़ता है. सो शी इज क्वेश्चनिंग एवरी सिंबल. एंड आई जस्ट रीड फ्रॉम द इंट्रोडक्शन व्हिच इज द first page also what she has written. Let's read some part of it. This is where the second on the first paragraph introduction she writes about the customs of widow remarriage. It is not just true these days that only the Brahmin caste stops their widow getting married again. Lot of other castes and families do the same. So she is saying that how there's an imitation of what Brahmins are doing, and there's a trickling down of what he was mentioning, that is
reference group
Yeah.
or resocialization.
Resocialization,
or,
yeah.
Or it seems, as you say, if you read the caste in India, Dr. Ambedkar says the Tarabai law, Tarabai principles of imitation, how the lower caste people imitate the bad habits or bad customs of upper caste, like a sati pratha, then childhood marriage, and then this widowhood. Same, she is referring before Ambedkar in 1882, and before that the Tarabai principles of. So think just what she was visionary at that time. And somewhere I will say that Dr. Ambedkar influenced by her text. Even if you read the Hindu code bill, you will find ki how she talks about not only this gender issue but the economic political rights of women in her text. That economic political right should be given to women. Where from this idea come in Dr. Ambedkar's mind? Somewhere I reading in Dr. Ambedkar's biography written by the Vasant Moon. He was saying it's come from the Satyashodak literature. Satyashodak literature means the literature produced by the person who are in that Satyashodak society, the truth seeker society. And her father, the Tarabai Shinde's father, was an active member of this Satyashodak or Truth Seeker Society, and she was also she used to have conversation with Mahatma Phule and Savitribai Phule through the letters. So just I wanted to say that before Ambedkar and Tarday's laws of imitation, she talked about this.
Yeah, thank you.
Also one thing interesting, मतलब she does this so in such a fluid manner. देखो एक पे ना she is mentioning that I am not bringing here in particular castes or any other religion, but it's just simple comparison between men and women. But right after that, she is bringing in the caste factor. मतलब this also shows that despite you try to keep these two things separate, it's not possible. Patriarchy here is Brahminical patriarchy. The way it functions, caste will anyway come down.
Yeah. The second paragraph, then she points out the second thing. The second thing I want to write about is that it's not just one part of the country that's taking on the English people's habit or one caste. Take the way people dress. The customs of all castes have changed. Even of our kings and princes. What's happened now to those places that once made silk barricade and the custom and the costumes of silver, gold. So she's talking about the changes taking place, right? Not just in this part of the country, but in general in the other part of the country also. In the next paragraph she talks, these days women only want to wear one Mangalsutra around their neck with just one string of delicate little beads. It's in the same with the kumkum they have to put on their forehead out of the shame of what people will think if they don't. So the whole question, I mean she'll question small things like अगर मैं ये मंगलसूत्र या कुमकुम नहीं लगाती हूँ, so is it because it's a choice or is it a fear? And if we try to bring this question in our contemporary time, right from the fact,
primary question that she is raising here is बाकी हर चीज बदल रहा है, हम अंग्रेजों को फॉलो कर रहे हैं, कोट पहन रहे हैं, बट उसके साथ साथ कुमकुम लगाना भी जरूरी है. ऐसा क्यों है? बट वो समाज के डर से लड़कियों को करना पड़ रहा है. That's the main.
I'm just thinking that newly married like couples, especially women, like हमारी या फिर छोटी एज की even they go to office and it's like considered necessary to have.
Sacredness or something.
हाँ,
Yeah, वो तो है वो तो उसके तो present day
Is it? But that's what she's questioning. Is it a choice or it's a social fear? Like.
But again, हाँ वो तो है, but again the way Indian society functions, I think main thing she's doing again pointing out the hypocrisy, because somewhere later also she brings up this ये only कि हम हर चीज में अंग्रेजों को follow कर रहे हैं. We are also like, even if we have to strictly follow the scriptures, we are also not allowed to travel the seas ऐसा कुछ है ना, then you be outcasted ऐसा कुछ.
Then you can talk about
हाँ.
crossing the sea.
Crossing the seas, even you can see this in context of Gandhi and Vivekananda. When Vivekananda want to go to the that Chicago conference in 1892, that time some rigid or conservative Brahmins stop him. If you go outside, then we will not consider as you Hindu. You will disobey from Hindu society. And that time he went to the Sri Lanka, and from Sri Lanka there was a Buddhist monk, and he funded that Buddhist monk or that Buddhist society funded all his traveling. And then in same sense Gandhi, but due to some Firoz Shah Mehta, so Gandhi went to the abroad and took his education. So even crossing the sea or crossing your land, the India basically in Brahmin context considered as sacred, and others are not sacred. These are polluted places. Because of they in Western society they have to eat non-vegetarian, and Brahminical scripture not allowed to eat what non-veg.
बट कंसिडर कि अगर एक बार अगर आप अपने देश से बाहर चले गए, समंदर में चले गए, तो आपकी जो कास्ट है तो वो आपकी चली गई, बेसिकली आपकी पहचान भी चली गई.
Yeah, means caste in Indian society, caste is your core identity. As she said, कि patriarchy and caste are the same sides. Sorry, two sides of same coin. Means in earlier discussion, if sociologically I talk, the G.S. Gure, then the Srinivas and Iravati Karve all talks about the what are the core characteristics of caste, but no one is talk about the patriarchy is itself the core characteristics of caste. It was missing point. So that time she said, not bluntly, but in her literature we can see the caste has patriarchy is a core characteristics. Without patriarchy there is no caste. Yeah.
So even like that thing also she mentions as well कि अभी like crossing the seas वो भी तो scriptures में मना किया है, but वो तो कर रहे हो, and like you are doing everything following the Britishers, but you are coming back and the region where you are following the tradition is when you have to marry within your caste.
Yeah.
So इसमें ऐसा very directly she is pointing out towards the hypocrisy. It's quite fun to read, and also like she is very aware of her position. That's also like we should actually appreciate her humility. She is actually like लिखी है कि of course I'm just a poor woman without any real intelligence. This is what she has been made to believe by her surroundings, who has been kept locked up and confined in the proper old Maratha manner. So she is also so self-aware of, she has this sense of her own subjectivity, of her own location. I think that is what enriches this text. Like in our feminist feminist research methods, when you talk about it, we always say कि we should be devoid of, we should not aspire for objectivity, क्योंकि real objectivity होना possible है नहीं. It is all coming from our subjective locations, and as a researcher what we can do is we have to be aware of our subjectivity. Only then we can actually try to aspire for a research that is unbiased. We should not pretend that there's no bias. So I'd say that she has done this long back, without having so-called real intelligence that she's claiming. She's very much aware where she's coming from.
So yeah, in next chapter where we'll move ahead to the chapter which is comparison between women and men. Page number 81 in this text, we will see that she's questioning. ठीक है 44 पे है. So then she talks of how the pavitrata, which is second page number 44 पे, pativrata. This is what pativrata means. This is what pativrata means these days. If I was to tell you that the whole of it from the start to finish, it will take a whole separate book. Who on the earth really follows the shastras to letter or expects anyone else to do? If the husband is really to be like a god to the wife, and then shouldn't behave like one. If wives are to worship them like true devotees. Should the husband have a tender love for them in return and care about their joys and pains like a real God would? When these ठीक है, तो उसमें उन्होंने यही बोला है कि जैसे कि हमने सावित्री एंड सत्यवान की एक वो स्टोरी है जिसमें कि सावित्री अपने पति उनकी डेथ हो जाती है तो उनको यमराज के वहां से जाके लेके आती है, विच इज वेरी प्रेवलेंट इन व्रत कथाओं में और हमारे टेक्स्ट में. लेकिन देन शी क्वेश्चंस कि ऐसी एक भी कहानी हमारे पास मौजूद नहीं है कि किसी आदमी ने अपनी औरत जिसकी डेथ हो गई है उसके प्यार के लिए या फिर उसके लिए उन्होंने इतना किया हो. एंड देन शी इज ब्रिंग दिस शी इज क्वेश्चनिंग कि कहाँ है प्यार, कहाँ है रिश्ते में, वेयर इज लव, वेयर इज द केयर. इट्स ओनली अबाउट डोमेस्टिक, मतलब एक स्लेव की तरह ट्रीटमेंट है थ्रू आउट द टेक्स्ट.
एंड हियर शी इज डायरेक्टली आस्किंग कि इफ ऐसा ही है कि इट्स नेसेसरी फॉर अस कि हस्बैंड को गॉड माने तो फिर इज ही बिहेविंग लाइक अ गॉड? नो, ही इज गोइंग ऑन विथ ऑल हिज फॉल्ट्स, रॉन्ग डूइंग्स, बट द वुमन इज स्टिल एक्सपेक्टेड टू बी परफेक्ट इन फॉलोइंग हिम. So that
और जो कहानी जैसे महाभारत में भी मेंशन किया हुआ है, महाभारत में भी जैसे कर्ण का जो जन्म होता है उसको लेके शी इज क्वेश्चनिंग कि ये तो शादी से पहले का जो जन्म है उसको.
Nice. So she begins with questioning that why widow remarriage is looked down upon, not just in Brahmins but in other castes also. And why is it that women's remarrying and using all these symbols of marriage like kumkum and Mangalsutra and all of that, which basically means ki they are living happily. So their happiness is attached to that symbol, and it's the time when women after getting widowed, their hairs were chopped off. And they had to live certain kind of life which is very demeaning and sad. So basically their life has to be sad if their husband is no more. So she is just questioning that if you look at all these in Mahabharata, there are enough examples. In our Shastras there are enough examples where women have actually lived their life, where they have not just married second time, but they had some kind of relationship pre-married without marriage also. So like Kunti का वो example देती हैं, और वो example देती है, even Draupadi का example देती है that how she is married to 5 sons of Kunti, yet she has some lust for Karna. She likes Karna also. So in a way she is just telling that women are as human as men and they do have desires. Why do you think that women just being a woman are less of a human and they don't have the same desire as men have? So she is just not advocating for remarrying women, widow remarriage. She is also saying that look at women like a man. As men enjoy their life, they bring, like she uses all kind of words, like he brings whore even if he is married. He does everything, he drinks, and then you think that women should be pativrata. Pativrata means like a slave. If he is going to a washroom, you have to be ready, giving him warm water, keeping so all these Shastra Kathas were actually narrated in those times by these Brahmin priests and preachers जो भी थे वहाँ पे. So she is just questioning everything, and it's so radical in a sense that still you cannot go in any such teachings जहाँ पर हो रही होती pandas and question them in the manner that she is questioning. तो वो हर एक चीज़ को लेकर, and then she also talks about this another women जिनको जो शिला में पर वो उनको शिला बना देता, श्राप देता, क्या था नाम उनका? हाँ नाम मैं अभी भूल रही हूँ, इसके अंदर है नॉट हाईलाइटेड. तो उसका बताते हैं. हाँ अहिल्या के अलावा भी एक और दूसरी का भी नाम लिया है जिसने she actually set in someone's lap and then उसको convert कर दिया, and then she also says that all these women are still considered pure, still considered pativrata, है ना, जबकि ऐसा नहीं है that they have not exercised their agency, and even if they have exercised their agency, it's all okay to consider them as pativrata, as good women. तो ये जो good women और bad women की जो तुमने dichotomy बना रखी है, it's totally hypocrisy. और ये अगर आदमियों को इसका 1% भी आप बोल दोगे कि you have to practice in your marriage, they are incapable of doing that. They are doing, and if you exactly, the essence is if they are not behaving like a god, why would you think that women will behave like their slaves, entire slaves? That's not done. So बहुत beautifully she has
Yeah.
picked up every example and like deconstructed it. कि how it serves to gender stereotypes and then makes women like just a slave of the husband. Without husband, she is nothing. So ठीक है, I have to leave for another
Yeah.
meeting. Sorry, I came late.
He also left or?
हाँ, I think he is left.
Okay.
चलो, we'll see you. Bye bye.
You want to share something, Sangat?
Yeah, no, it's not complete. It's not complete. There are, yeah, no, but बीच में if you want to like more of a discussion, you can share it. No, इडली चलते हैं, फिर बताते हैं.
Basically, I think we can read Mukta Salve and Tarabai text in continuation because first Muktabai writes about how caste producing inequality in the society and how certain specific caste groups are उनको स्टिग्मेटाइज किया जा रहा है या फिर गॉड का एक इमेज बना रहा है लेकिन उसको एक्सेस नहीं है स्पेसिफिक कास्ट को. एंड इनके आगे ताराबाई आर्ग्यू करती है कि हाउ पेट्रियार्की कास्ट एंड रिलीजन आर इंटरलिंक्ड विद ईच अदर एंड हाउ दीज interlinked system creates new kind of inequality in the society. So I think we can read these texts in continuation, and because Mukta Salve is a student of Pune and Tarabai also belongs to Satyashodak ideology. So how Satyashodak ideology creating this conversation about the social inequality in the society. Again, you were talking about Tarabai. She's not a researcher kind of.
So you don't expect that language.
So don't expect that language. But when you read her text, we can understand that yes, she is talking in a methodological way. She is talking about. She is arguing rationally. So rational theory she is applying there. She's taking empirical evidences. She talks about lived experiences. So this is methodology that she talks about. So we can't argue that we can't expect certain kind of language or certain kind of methodology. They are following specific methodology and they are producing knowledge.
And she's also citing the whole Hindu scriptures.
So she is citing. She is taking references. So what kind of experience references she takes, like mythologies, then social institutions, how social institutions and patriarchy, gender, these are social institutions created by society, caste is so these references she is taking. Yeah, these two points. And she rightly points out that dilemma in the society, that dilemma between spirituality and modernity. That we discussed in 19th century that there are many people that stuck into the they want to become modern, but still they are stuck into the spirituality. They don't know what to do. And again then we want to come to the argument that why they are not giving back the spirituality, because spirituality, their caste location gives them privileges in the society. So that's why they are stuck into the modernity and spirituality.
So one doubt I have, like if you know the original language, एक बोला है कि there's a saying, money troubles and you need relatives, but if it's diarrhea, our wife's best. What does it mean? ये देखो ये रहा. This last line, this page.
Money means वो
Wife will clean up after him.
हाँ.
Oh my god.
So again, division of labor, how
Exactly. She also constantly brings this, exactly the concept that we still keep talking about today, division of labor and all. And why same thing, pointing out the hypocrisy, like wait, when when the husband dies, the wife has to go through all these things. As if उसने मारा है क्या? Why should she go through all this penance? हाँ. And but the importance, so most of it is the similar. But when even अगर ऐसा होता है कि say if the man is sick, the wife is serving to him, and she is also very realistic, which I love. Like she's also going against this idea that women are angels. ऐसा नहीं है कि maybe the woman is serving her husband because what option does she have? She cannot say no, and she knows कि if the husband dies, what fate is awaiting her. ऐसा मत सोचो कि they are not political agents and they have no say of their own, they have no thinking of their own, just ऐसे इतना अच्छा ही के इसमें करे. The society is structured in a way that she has no other option, so she is pointing at very important things. And but if the wife is sick, the husband will be like कब मरेगी ये, तब जाके then I'll get to marry another person. So I said such is like very direct. And but the important part that there is like she directly says that if only God would preserve this English government forever. So how coming of British has actually helped. You want to add?
Yeah, Britishers are the emancipator for the women.
Yeah, exactly.
As we say, she talks about that also that how due to education and that some people's think about equality, values of liberty, and like she means I don't think so here is, but in that Marathi she also put the Mahatma Phule. He says ki how the Mahatma Phule influenced by Thomas Paine, and he was took the initiative of liberating women and education, that kind of things.
So so she says that since it began here, like referring to the English coming, women have got the gift of education and their minds made strong enough to face all sorts of mental and practical circumstances with courage. And because of all these things are going to change a lot in this land of Bharat. So she is very clearly pointing ki it is because the English are here, maybe the condition of Bharat would change. So and one thing I'd also like to mention here, like you adding on to you, that how British have been considered the emancipators of women, and also people from other marginalized castes, like so I just thoda sa the nationalist politics that we keep talking about actually is a very closed upper caste politics. There have always been alternative politics to the national politics, and lower caste who actually consider the British the emancipators, and have, like I can think of the Namashudra movements where they have directly said that no, we will not. And so what happened there, I'm going out of topic, but I think it's important, so I'll just mention. So what happened there is, like say in terms of this Swadeshi movement, I think so these nationalists came, and because Namashudras were a large number of people in the region, in the Bengal region, so they came and asked, their support was necessary for the nationalist movement to be successful there. They asked for the support, but they did not support them. They're saying that why should we ask, like why we don't want the British to go away. It is after they have come, we have actually had some sort of power, and if we are fighting against the British, what the power, the upper caste will gain the power. What will happen to us? Why should we support you? They have been very clear about this. So I think bringing this is also important. How we should also just, like, because most post-colonial texts only say kya colonialism hai kharab hai, we also should look into all these other parts of it, you know, jo hota nahi usually. And also like this various, like here she mentions a newspaper that when there's a क्या होता है पुणे वेमन न्यूज़पेपर
that case.
Yeah, can you summarize the case?
Yeah, that was the case basically from Surat, Vijay Lakshmi.
That case
first social ecology. Why she returned this to counter this case, to defend that woman.
That's the whole point.
That woman.
And then comes the paragraph where she, like I thoda sa mentioned, that she's bringing us back to how Indian society is just a caste society. At the end of the day, कुछ भी कर लो, किसी को भी follow कर लो. Like you have, she says, you have started to wear clothes like this. You have made yourselves as learned as there, if not more. You enjoy the things they eat to your heart's content, like meat and alcohol. Usme bhi you are passing the boundaries of your religion and caste. But how much of religion is there left now? You go wherever you like in trends and boats. You just dress just like them. You eat all sorts of forbidden foods just as your fancy takes you. You do all sorts of improper things. Then you turn around and claim you are great defenders of dharma. Aren't you even slightly ashamed of saying it? Then you get into steamships, don't you, and go off to countries where there isn't a single member of your own caste. You mix with those people and spend years after year close in company with them. Then you just come back here, do a Garvya penance. Is it some sort of ritual?
Penance.
Paap dhulne ke liye maybe, हाँ. Then
in that you have to
Yeah.
follow 5 things.
Acha.
It is kind of everything that is extracted from a cow. It's
Acha.
ghee and milk and
Yeah.
butter and all 5. That's
is
the
it also
process.
the same ritual where I heard? I'm not sure. Where you have to take in the like cow dung and
Yes, and that
Oh my
gomootra also.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. But then there you are, all ready and proud to take your place at the communal table once more. So, very pointing hypocrisy. And she also very clearly mentions the division of labor. So she is also through the text. She is also addressing the men, which is also very important because they need to be the one to have the conversation with. So she's saying that it's true, you go out and earn the money, but the woman, she has to see the running of the house, has to do exactly as you tell her, perpetually obedient, kept in ignorance, toiling at the most exhausting work till her body's pleasure breaks into little pieces. Her bones waste away, her eyes always on your face. She is also saying matlab how sad the condition of women are. Ki all they ask for return is that you just smile at her and she is ready to do all the tasks and still you treat her so poorly. I think because she also brings in the case of abortion and the topic that because of where she's writing. So she's saying ki what the reality looks like, that although the woman is blamed, what happens that say a man will get into relation with the woman and then when she's pregnant, the man will say, what do you mean? And she comes to the man for help. The man will say, what do you mean? What should we do? You did it. You take the consequences. So it is upon the woman to bear the consequences of the action which were done by two people.
And
And-
even if ये तो चलो मतलब बहुत अलग बात हुई कि that she was involved.
Yeah.
But even अगर rape भी होता है
Yeah,
तब भी
exactly.
she is blamed.
This is completely given that there's consent.
Right.
Why you went out?
I think
हाँ.
generations तक उसकी
Yes,
family को वो ना रहे तब भी उसकी family
Yeah.
को they will
वही ना.
society
हाँ.
will-
And why this happened? If you see the like epistemological roots in Hindu scripture, the woman purity lies in her vagina. That's what Kamala Basin says. Okay, and it's so sacred. And if someone like polluted it, then the whole, not only the girl or the
Yeah,
woman,
community.
but family, community, religion, caste get polluted.
Yeah.
So that's why the woman's socialization happen in Hindu society so delicately with surveillance.
And like वो इतना ज़्यादा rooted है, इतना उसको इतना natural बना दिया कि यहाँ पे slave को पता भी नहीं कि वो slave है.
हाँ.
She's not
वही
even
ना.
aware of that.
हाँ, exactly.
और वो खुद भी जैसे अभी भी मान जनरली भी किसी का humiliation होता है इस लड़की के साथ, she will never speak it out. जो क्यों नहीं बोलेगी? क्यों? Because उसके मन में जहन में बैठा
हाँ.
गया है कि this is your fault.
Yeah, fault, exactly.
तो वो अंदर इधर घुटती
हाँ.
रहेगी, but she will never tell
Exactly.
anyone.
हमारा socialization ही ऐसे होता है
हाँ.
कि we cannot,
Yeah.
it's not possible.
That's what she is talking. The,
Yeah.
how the women get socialized in Hindu society
Yeah.
and Hindu religion.
हाँ.
Basically, where you have to always obey your fathers, your husband. Why? And also other context why she is writing, because after she is marrying with a man, she was not happy with that marriage. That's why she is writing this.
And I think not only Hindu, others में भी कृष्ण
हाँ,
की
हाँ.
form में वो
Yeah,
dance
yeah,
करते
Structures
हैं.
are there.
but mostly intensity is higher.
इस context में
हाँ.
हाँ, obviously
इस
in our
context
context.
This context
she's
में
mentioned.
Yeah. But हाँ, so prior to this she did say that English government आने से चीजें बेहतर हुआ है, but when the time she is also ready to criticize the English government even here. So drawing on to this case, I think she said that what has the English Raj done about all this? Like to save, she's saying that to save her honor, she even gets herself an abortion and endures all sorts of penances for action. What has the English Raj done about all this? Without witnesses, you cannot do anything about it, and you can't get witnesses in such a delicate matter. So, ऐसे हालत में what witnesses? And she is actually blaming the English government also. You are not doing enough. So she knows कहाँ पे उस praise करना है, कहाँ पे critic करना है. So very good. So these are all the things. Then this paragraph I like in page 122. So she's saying कि मतलब वही you keep blaming women, but now you say haven't some great evils been caused by women? Yes, they have all the time. Who would say no? But what have they really done? Like, if you are blaming women only, what are the faults they have done? It's you who kill each other every day over Jages, Vatans, Deshmukh. Like she's referring to the men. Just over some little scrap of a pattern's office, even poison each other. Is all this women's fault too? And once it's gone to court, you spend hundreds of thousands of rupees and grovel at the feet of the pitiest police constable. And all for what? When you die, is it out of exhaustion or because of all your sins? It's lovely how she's pointing fingers at the men. It's like actually quite a treat to read this.
Like what I found is she is the judge in this and she is putting everyone in that गधरा कहते हैं कि बारी-बारी सबको डाली बोलो.
हाँ, very great. And also I love this line. So she is also bringing the concept of God and saying that God made women delicate by their very nature. So it was for them that He gave these great houses, this varas and mansions. Like I think she's trying to say that women deserve this because of all the hard work they put into it. Who cares about a vagabond like you? She's saying that to man. So yeah. Just one minute. But some things, I think this is also her way of saying, like when I was saying that you cannot judge this according to the current feminist standards, this is what I mean, that some things you can say, you can question sitting here. But I also feel like this is, because this is addressed, when you read the text, it is addressed primarily to men actually. She's talking to the men, so maybe that is where it's coming from. She's telling the men that when God gave you, what God gave you was just one great intelligence. He made you the greatest and best of all forms of life in the universe. So you should behave. But I'm saying, वही समझ के, I can understand that someone said कुछ ऐसे कैसे बोल दिया कि God gave man all the intelligence, but समझ के थोड़ा हमको पढ़ना होगा. So next line, so we have to come for that, we have to come to the next line. She's saying that so you should behave in a way that suits this hierarchy. Like if you're thinking of yourself as someone having so much power, then behave that way, take the responsibility. But that would be hoping for too much, wouldn't it? Even that Brahma of yours who's so superior, what can you say about him? What sort of holy man has he been? He's even worse than you. I think she's also critiquing the methods of Brahma ke upar bhi.
Critiques the gods.
Yeah, like that's very brave thing to do, given that she's writing from that time.
Like in that period, every woman was praising the god, following the god's rules and norms. That time she, by the inspiration of Stri-Purush Phule, Stri-Purush Phule also takes on why Stri-Purush earlier to her written the Stri-Purush Samanta, man and woman equality, and then she written this man and woman comparison, means differences.
Maybe then we can put this to
Like if you read the Satyashodak literature, you will find that in Stri-Purush Phule influenced Mukta Salve, and Mukta Salve's essays influenced how Tarabai Shinde. And then also Fatima Six. We don't have any literature of Fatima Six, but the later writings to the Stri-Purush Phule, it's there. It published by the Maharashtra government, Phule's collected works.
We should read all those texts in conversation with each other. फिर वो पूरा ये will be open up to us. So वही है. So why in the end she says this thing कि our women right now are uneducated, ignorant and weak, but still they should acquire strength by deciding firmly to conduct themselves properly Yeah, वही ना, she is drawing from also scriptures too, वही ना, too, because she is talking to the society at that point, so that people listen to her. She is actually, maybe that's the reason she is bringing this examples of Lakshmi and Agni, that women have to perform in a way, just so that she's actually, there's a call upon for women to bring out their strength and fight the society that's there. Like, let's not take it in its face value. हाँ, by means of the content. हाँ, and she's just ending with saying that I pray the flag of their happiness may be raised high over the temples of both their homes, that all women and children live happily in the full glory of Lakshmi, that they should be beloved by all, and their foreheads filled with the auspicious marks of marriage. So she is not exactly cancelling all those institutions, but saying that within these institutions, let's try to make things better. I pray the lives of women in this world may at last become sweet, and that all women find a place of happiness in this world and the other. Yeah, so this is how she's ending her text. So I think we have tried to bring out, so it is more like a story. It's not possible to go through the entire point. There are various examples, and she's just talking, we just have to listen to her, so, but we try to bring, I think, certain important arguments, theoretical arguments that we could get out of the text, and they have added very usefully. And so I'd like to invite others also to give your opinions and what you felt like, not just from the text but from the conversations that we have been having. Anything to add, because I think I've talked for long.
Just I want to ask
Yeah.
you some key, means how this text or this very beautiful or empirical work of Tarabai Shinde relevant today or today's context. Do you see any things like these context women are suffering or not? Like if you go out of this campus, so neoliberal campus, you will find ki whatever she has written in that period, it's still followed by women's. Means in that same way, the women's get socialization. So this talks about the emancipation of women. She was very very angry on this the Brahmin caste system. And she was very angry how the scriptures and this scriptures and all what we say scripture and texts of Hindu literature compare woman as a become a slave of a husband and slave of a father. Just he mentioned here.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I can add, but like it has to be off camera.
ठीक है, can you pause थोड़ा सा? उधर में